Hey guys, this is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? Yes, I know I need a new sign. Maybe after I move. Whenever that will be. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. If you get anything from my work, a connect the dot, an epiphany, a light bulb moment, a new author to read, a new book to explore, please consider helping me out. All the information is in the Dropbox below, and I'm very grateful and appreciate everybody who has kept me fed and alive, literally, not figuratively, literally, for the past year. And now we're seeping into more. The Urantia Book. Paper 39, the Seraphic Hosts. As far as we are cognizant, the infinite spirit, as personalized on the local universe headquarters, intends to produce uniformly perfect seraphim, but for some unknown reason, these seraphic offspring are very diverse. This diversity may be a result of the unknown interposition of evolving experimental deity. If so, we cannot prove it. But we do observe that when seraphim have been subjected to educational tests and training discipline, they unfailingly and distinctly classify into the following 7 groups. 1. Supreme Seraphim. 2. Superior Seraphim. 3. Supervisor Seraphim. 4. Administrator Seraphim. 5. Planetary Helpers. 6. Transition Ministers. 7. Seraphim of the Future. Very curious on that one. To say that any one seraphim is inferior to an angel or any other group would hardly be true. Nevertheless, every angel is at first service limited to the group of original and inherent classification. My seraphic associate in the preparation of this statement, Mantoia, is a supreme seraphim and one time functioned only as a supreme seraphim. By application and devoted service, she has, one by one, achieved all 7 of the seraphic services, having functioned in well nigh every avenue of activity open to seraphim, and now holds the commission of Associate Chief of Seraphim on Urantia. Human beings sometimes find it hard to understand that a created capacity for higher level ministry does not necessarily imply ability to function on relatively low service levels. Man begins life as a helpless infant, hence every mortal attainment must embrace all experimental prerequisites. Seraphim have no such pre-adult life, no childhood. They are, however, experimental creatures, and by experience and through additional education, they can augment their divine and inherent endowment of ability by the experimental acquirement of functional skill in one or more of the seraphic services. After being commissioned, seraphim are assigned to the reserves of their inherent group. Those of the planetary and administrative services and status often serve for long periods as originally classified, but the higher the intent function level, the more persistently do the angelic ministers seek assignment to the lower orders of universe service. Especially do they desire assignment to the reserves of the planetary helpers. And if successful, they enroll in the celestial schools attached to the headquarters of the planetary prince of some evolutionary world. Here they begin the study of the languages, history, and local habits of the races of mankind. Seraphim must acquire knowledge and gain experience much as do human beings. They are not far removed from you in certain personality attributes, and they are all crave to start at the bottom on the lowest possible level of ministry. Thus, may they hope to achieve the highest possible level of experimental destiny. Damn us experiments. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Supreme Seraphim. These seraphim are the highest of the 7 revealed orders of local universe angels. They function in 7 groups, each of which is closely associated with the angelic ministers of the Seraphic Corps of Completion. Sun Spirit Ministers. The first group of the Supreme Seraphim are assigned to the service of the high suns and spirit origin beings resident and functioning in the local universe. This group of angelic ministers also serve the universe sun and the universe spirit and are closely affiliated with the intelligence corps of the bright and morning star, the universe chief executive of the united wills of the creator sun and the creative spirit. Being of assignment to the high suns and spirits, these seraphim are naturally associated with the far-flung service of the paradise of Vornials, the divine offspring of the eternal sun and the infinite spirit. The paradise of Vornials are always attended on the magisterial and bestowal missions by this high experienced order of seraphim, who are at such times devoted to organizing and administrating this special work connected with the termination of one planetary dispensation and the inauguration of a new age. But they are not concerned in the work of adjudication, which might be incidental to such a change in dispensations. Bestowal attendants. Paradise of Vornals, but not creator sons, when on bestowal missions, are always accompanied by a corps of 144 bestowal attendants. These 144 angels are the chiefs of all other sun spirit ministers who may be associated with a bestowal mission. There might possibly be legions of angels subject to the command of an incarcerated son of God on a planetary bestowal, but all these orders of angels, Supernephim and Secundaphim, might also form a part of the attending hosts, and though their missions are distinct from those of the seraphim, all these activities would be coordinated by the bestowal attendants. These bestowal attendants are completion seraphim. They have all traversed the circles of Seraphington and have obtained the Sephiric corpse of completion. And they have been further especially trained to meet the difficulties and to cope with the emergencies associated with the bestowals of the sons of God for the advancement of children of time. Such seraphim have all achieved paradise and the personal embrace of the second source and center of the eternal sun. Seraphim equally crave assignment to the missions of the incarnated sons and attachment. As destiny guardians to the mortals of the realms, the latter is the surest seraphic passport to paradise, while the bestowal attendants have achieved the highest local universe service of the completion seraphim of paradise attainment. 2. Court advisors. These are the seraphic advisors and helpers attached to all orders of adjudication, from the conciliators up to the highest tribunals of the realm. It is not the purpose of such tribunals to determine punitive sentences, but rather to adjudicate honest differences of opinion to decree the everlasting survival of ascending mortals. Herein lies the duty of the court advisors to see that all charges against mortal creatures are stated in justice and adjudication and mercy. In this work, they are closely associated with the high commissioners, spirit-fused ascendant mortals serving in the local universe. The seraphic court advisors serve extensively as defenders of mortals, not that there ever exists any disposition to be unfair to the lowly creatures of the realms, but while justice demands the adjudication of every default in the climb towards divine perfection, mercy requires that every such misstep be fairly judged in accordance with the creature nature and the divine purpose. These angels are the exponents and exemplification of element of mercy inherent in divine justice, of fairness based on the knowledge of the underlying facts of personal motives and racial tendencies. This order of angels serves from the councils of the planetary princes to the highest tribunals of the local universe, while their associates of the seraphic corps of completion function in the higher realms of Ravanton even to the courts of the Ancients of Days on Uversa. Universe Orientators. These are the true friends and postgraduate counselors of all those ascending creatures who are pausing for the last time on Salvington in their universe of origin as they stand on the brink of the spirit adventure stretching out before them in the vast super universe of Orvanton. And at such a time, many an ascender has a feeling which mortals could understand only by comparison with the human emotions of nostalgia. Behind lie the realms of achievement, realms grown familiar by long service and Urantia attainment. Ahead lies the challenging mystery of a greater and vaster universe. It is the task of the universe orientators to facilitate the passage of ascending pilgrims from the obtained to the unobtained levels of universe service to help these pilgrims in making those kaleidoscopic adjustments in the comprehension of meaning and values inherent in the realization that a first stage spirit being stands not at the end and climax of local universe Urantia ascent, but rather at the very bottom of the long ladder of a spiritual ascent in the universal Father of Paradise. Many of the Seraphington graduates, members of the Seraphic Hosts, are completion who are associated with these seraphim, engage in extensive teachings in Salvington, schools concerned with the preparation of creatures of Nebadon for the relationships of the next universe age. The teaching counselors. These angels are invaluable assistants of the spiritual teaching corps of the local universe. Teaching counselors are secretaries to all orders of teachers from the Melchizedeks and the Trinity teacher's sons down to the Urantia mortals who are assigned as helpers to those of their kind who are just behind them in the scale of ascent life. You will see these associate teaching seraphim on some one of the 7 mansion worlds surrounding Jerusalem. These seraphim become associates of the division chiefs of the numerous educational and training institutions of the local universes, and they are attached in large numbers to the facilities of the 7 training worlds of the local systems and the 70 educational spheres of the constellations. These ministrations extend down to the individual worlds. Even the true and consecrated teachings of time are assisted and often attended by these counselors of the Supreme Seraphim. The 4th creature bestowal of the Creator Son was like the likeness of a teaching counselor of the Supreme Seraphim and Nebadon. Directors of assignment. A body of 144 Supreme Seraphim is elected from time to time by the angels serving on the architectural spheres of creature habitation. This is the highest angelic council on any sphere, and it is coordinates the self-directed phases of seraphic service and assignment. These angels preside over seraphic assemblies pertaining to the line of duty or the call to worship. 6, the recorders. These are the official recorders for the Supreme Seraphim. Many of these high angels were born with their gifts fully developed. Others have qualified for their positions of trust and responsibility by diligent application to study and faithful performance of similar duties while attached to lower or less responsible orders. Unattached ministers. Large number of unattached seraphim of the Supreme Order are self-directed servers of the architectural spheres on the inhabited planets. Such ministers voluntarily meet the differential of demand for the service of the Supreme Seraphim, thus constituting the general reserve of this order. Woo! Superior Seraphim. Superior Seraphim receive their name not because they are in any sense qualitatively superior to other orders of angels, but because they are in charge of the higher activities of a local universe. Very many of the first 2 groups of these Seraphic Corps are obtainment seraphim angels who have served in all phases of training and have returned to a glorified assignment as directors of their kind in the spheres of their earlier activities. Being a young universe, Nebadon does not have many of this order. The superior seraphim function as the following 7 groups. 1, the intelligent corps. These seraphim belong to the personal staff of Gabriel, the bright and morning star. They range the local universe, gathering the information of the realms for his guidance in the councils of Nebadon. They are the intelligence corps of the mighty hosts over which Gabriel presides, as vicegerent of the Master Sun. These seraphim are not directly affiliated with either the systems or the constellations, and their information pours into direct Salvington upon a continuous, direct, and independent circuit. The intelligence corps of the various local universes can and do intercommunicate, but only within a given super universe. There is a differential of energy which effectively segregates the business and transactions of the various super governments. One super universe can ordinarily communicate with the other super universe only through the provisions and faculties of the Paradise Clearinghouse. The voice of mercy. Mercy is the keynote of seraphic service and angelic ministry. It is therefore fitting that there should be a corps of angels who, in a special manner, portray mercy. These seraphim are the real mercy ministers of the stuck page. Come on, page on stick. Of the local universes. They are inspired leaders who foster the higher impulse and holier emotions of men and angels. The directors of these legions are now always completion seraphim, who are also graduate guardians of mortal destiny. That is, each angelic pair has guided at least one soul of animal origin during the life in flesh, and has subsequently traversed the circles of Seraphington and has mustered into the seraphic corps of completion. Spirit coordinators. The third group of superior seraphim are based on Salvington, but function in the local universe anywhere. They can be of fruitful service, while their tasks are essentially spiritual and therefore beyond the real understanding of human minds. You will perhaps grasp something of their ministry to mortals if it is explained that these angels are entrusted with the task of preparing the ascendant sojourners of Salvington for their last transition in the local universe, for the highest Urantia level to the status of newborn spirit beings. At the mind planners on the mansion worlds, help the surviving creature to adjust to and make effective use of the potentials of Urantia mind. So do these seraphim instruct the Urantia graduates of Salvington regarding the newly obtained capacities of the mind of the spirit, and they serve the ascendant mortals in many other ways. Assistant teachers. These assistant teachers are the helpers and associates of their fellow seraphim. The teaching counselors. They are also individually connected with the extensive educational enterprises of local universe, especially with the sevenfold scheme of training operative on the mansion worlds of the local systems. A marvelous corpse of this order of seraphim functions on Urantia for the purpose of fostering and furthering the cause of truth and righteousness. The transporters. All groups of ministering spirits have their transport corps, angelic orders, dedicated to the ministry of transporting those personalities who are unable of themselves to journey from one spirit to another. The fifth group of the superior seraphim are headquartered on Salvington and serve as space traversers to and from the headquarters of the local universe. Like other subdivisions of the superior seraphim, some were created as such, while others have risen from the lower or less endowed groups. The energy range of seraphim is wholly adequate for local universe and even for the super universe requirements, but they could never withstand the energy demands entailed by such a long journey as that from Uversa to Havana. Such an exhaustive journey requires the special powers of primary secundifim of transport endowments. Transporters take an energy from flight while in transit and recuperate personal power at the end of the journey. Even on Salvington, ascending mortals do not possess personal transit forms. Ascenders must depend upon seraphic transporter in advancing from world to world until after the last rest of sleep on the inner circle of Ravona and the eternal awakening on paradise. Subsequently, you will not be dependent on angels for transport from universe to universe. The process of being in seraphimed is not unlike the experience of death or sleep, except that there is an automatic time element in the transit slumber. You are consciously unconscious during the seraphic rest, but the thought adjuster is wholly and fully conscious, in fact, exceptionally efficient, since you are unable to oppose, resist, or otherwise hinder creative and transforming work. When in seraphimed, you go to sleep for a specific time and you will awake at a designated moment. The length of a journey, when in transit, sleep immaterial. You are not directly aware of the passing of time. It is as if you went to sleep on a transport vehicle in one city and, after resting in a peaceful slumber all night, awakened in another distant metropolis. You journeyed while you slumbered, and you will take flight through space, intersephimed, while you rest sleep. The transit sleep is induced by the liaison between the adjusters and the seraphic transporters. Sorry, guys. Dyslexia is happening quite bad today. The angels cannot transport combustion bodies, flesh and blood, such as you now have, but they could transport all others, from the lowest Urantia to the highest spirit forms. They do not function in the event of natural death. When you finish your earthly career, your body remains on this planet. Your thought adjuster proceeds to the bosom of the Father, and these angels are not directly concerned in your subsequent personality reassembly on the identification mansion world. There, your new body is a Urantia form, one that can in seraphim. You sow a mortal body in the grave. You reap a Urantia form on the mansion worlds. The recorders. These personalities are especially concerned with the reception, filing, and redispatch of the records of Salvington and its associated worlds. They also serve as special recorders for resident groups of super-universe and higher personalities, and as clerks of the courts of Salvington and secretaries of the rulers thereof. Broadcasters, receivers, and dispatchers are of specialized subdivision of the seraphic orders, beginning and being concerned with the dispatch of records, with the dissemination of essential information. This work is of a high order, being so multi-circuited that 144,000 messages can simultaneously traverse the same lines of energy. They adapt the higher ideographic techniques of the seraphic, superaphic, chief recorders, and with these common symbols maintain reciprocal contact with both the intelligence coordinators of tertiary supernifim and the glorified intelligence of coordinators of seraphic corps of completion. Seraphic recorders of the superior order thus effect a close liaison with the intelligence corps of their own order, with all subordinate recorders, while the broadcasts enable them to maintain constant communication with the higher recorders of the super universe, and through this channel, with the recorders of Ravona and the custodians of knowledge on paradise. Many of the superior order of recorders are seraphim ascended from similar duties to lower sections of the universe. The reserves. Large reserves of all types of the superior seraphim are held on Salvington, instantly available for dispatch to the furthermost worlds of Nevadon as they are re-questioned by the directors of assignment or upon the request of the universe administrators. These reserves of superior seraphim also furnish messenger aids upon requisition by the chief of the brilliant evening stars, who is entrusted with the custody and dispatch of all personal communications. A local universe is fully provided with adequate means of intercommunication, but there is always a residue of messages which requires dispatch by personal basic reserves for the entire local universe are held on the Seraphic words of Salvington. This corpse includes all types of groups of angels. Supervisor Seraphim. The versatile order of universe angels is assigned to the exclusive service of the constellations. These able ministers make their headquarters on the constellation capitals, but function throughout all Nebadon in the interests of their assigned realms. 1. Supervising assistants. The first order of the supervising seraphim are assigned to the collective work of the constellation fathers, and they are the ever-efficient helpers of the Most Highs. These seraphim are primarily concerned with the unification and stabilization of a whole constellation. 2. Law forecasters. The intellectual foundation of justice is law. In a local universe, law originates in the legislative assemblies of the constellations. These deliberative bodies codify and formally promulgate the basic laws of Nebadon, laws designed to afford the greatest possible coordination of a whole constellation, consistent with the mixed policy of non-infringement of the mortal free will of personal creatures. That's changed. That just changed. FYI, they have to infringe because we've been infringed upon. And they did nothing about it. I know, divine plan. It is the duty of the second order of supervisor seraphim to place before the constellation lawmakers a forecast of how any proposed enactment would affect the lives of free will creatures. You're in trouble. This service they are well qualified to perform by virtue of long experience in the local systems and on the inhabited worlds. These seraphim seek no special favors from one group or another, but they do appear before the celestial lawmakers to speak for those who cannot be present to speak for themselves. Even mortal man may contribute to the evolution of universe law, for these very seraphim do faithfully and fully portray not necessarily man's transient and conscious desires, but rather the true longing of the inner man, the evolving Urantia soul of the material mortal on the world of space. Social architects. From the individual planets up through the Urantia training worlds, these seraphim labor to enhance all sincere social contacts and to further the social evolution of universe creatures. These are the angels who seek to divest the associations of intelligent beings of all artificially, while endeavoring to facilitate the inner association of will creatures on a base of real self-understanding and genuine mutual appreciation. Social architects do everything within their province and power to bring together suitable individuals that they may constitute efficient and agreeable working groups on Earth, and sometimes such groups have found themselves reassociated on the mansion worlds for continued fruitful service. But not always do these seraphim obtain their ends. Not always are they able to bring together those who would form the most ideal group to achieve a given purpose or to accomplish a certain task. Under these conditions, they must utilize the best of the material available. These angels continue their ministry on the mansion of higher Urantia worlds. They are concerned with any undertaking having to do with progress on Urantia worlds, and while concerns 3 or more persons. 2 beings are regarded as operating on mating, complemental, or partnership basis, but when 3 or more are grouped for service, they constitute a social problem, and therefore fall within the jurisdiction of social architects. These efficient seraphim are organized in 70 divisions on Urantia, and these divisions minister on 70 Urantia progress worlds encircling the headquarters sphere. 4. Ethical sensitizers. It is the mission of these seraphim to foster and to promote the growth of creature appreciation of the Sorry guys, that was my teeth. Morality of interpersonal relationships, for such is the seed and secret of the continued and purposeful growth of society and government, human or superhuman. These enhancers of ethical appreciation function anywhere and everywhere where they may be of service as volunteer counselors to the planetary rulers and exchange teachers on system training worlds. You will not, however, come under their full guidance until you reach the Brotherhood schools of Urantia, where they will quicken your appreciation of those very truths of fraternity, which you will even be so earnestly exploring by actual experience of living with the Urantia in the social laboratories of Urantia, the 70 satellites of Norgalactic capital. I need a dehumidifier, but the problem is I packed my dehumidifier because I'm hopefully one day moving. So my throat is a little dry. I do apologize, guys. The transporters. The fifth group of supervisor Seraphim operates as personality transporters, carrying beings to and from headquarters of the constellations. Such transport Seraphim, while in flight from one sphere to another, are fully conscious of their velocity, direction, and astronomic whereabouts. They are not traversing space as would an inanimate projectile. They may pass near one another during space flight without the least danger of collision. They are fully able to vary speed of progression and to alter direction of flight, even to change destinations if their directors should so instruct them at any space junction of universe intelligence circuits. These transit personalities are so organized that they can simultaneously utilize all three of the universal distributed lines of energy, each having a clear space velocity of 186,280 miles per second. These transporters are thus able to superimpose velocity of energy upon velocity of power until they obtain an average speed on their long journeys varying anywhere between 555,000 to almost 559,000 of your miles per second of your time. The velocity is affected by the proximity, try not to lose my teeth there, of neighboring matter by the strength and direction of the nearby main circuits of universe power. There are numerous types of beings similar to the Seraphim who are able to traverse space and who are also able to transport other beings who have been properly prepared. 6. The recorders. The sixth order of supervising Seraphim act as special recorders of constellation affairs. A large and efficient corps functions on Urantia, the headquarters of the constellations of Norgalactic, to which your system and planet belong. 7. The reserves. General reserves of the supervisor Seraphim are held on the headquarters of the constellations. Such angelic reservists are in no sense inactive. Many serve as messenger aids to the constellation rulers. Others are attached to Salvington reserves of unassigned Venonadaks. Still others may be attached to Venonadak, sons on special assignment, such as the Venonadak observer and sometimes most high regent of Urantia. Quite interesting. This is a long chapter, guys. Well, buckle up. Administrator Seraphim. The fourth order of Seraphim are assigned to the administrative duties of the local systems. They are indigenous to the system capitals, but are stationed in large numbers on the mansion and Urantia spheres and on the inhabited worlds. Fourth order Seraphim are by nature endowed with unusual administrative ability. They are the able assistants of the directors of the lower divisions of the universe government of a creator sun and are mainly occupied with the affairs of the local systems and their component worlds. They are organized by the service as follows. Administrative assistants. These are seraphim, are the immediate assistants of a system sovereign, a primary Ladanadak son. They are invaluable aids of the execution of the intricate details of the executive work of the system headquarters. They also serve as the personal agents of system rulers, journeying back and forth in large numbers to the various transition worlds and to the inhabited planets, executing many commissions for the welfare of the system and in the physical and biologic interests of its inhabited worlds. These same seraphic administrators are also attached to the governments of the world rulers, the planetary princes. The majority of planets in a given universe are under the jurisdiction of a secondary Ladanadak sun. But are certain worlds, such as Urantia, there have been a miscarriage of the divine plan. In the event of deflection of a planetary prince, the seraphim become attached to the Melchizedek receivers and their successors in planetary authority. The present acting ruler of Urantia is assisted by the corpse of 1,000 of the versatile order of seraphim. Justice guides. These are the angels who present the summary of evidence concerning the eternal welfare of men and angels when such matters comes up for adjudication in the tribunals of a system or a planet. They prepare the statements for all preliminary hearings involving mortal survival, statements which are subsequently carried with the records of such cases to the higher tribunals of the universe and the superuniverse. The defense of all cases of doubtful survival is prepared by these seraphim, who have a perfect understanding of all the details of every feature of every count in the indictments drawn by the administrators of universe and justice. It is not the mission of these angels to defeat or delay justice, but rather to ensure the unerring justice to dealt out with generous mercy in the fairness to all creatures. These seraphim often function on local worlds, commonly appearing before the referee trios of consolidating commissions, the courts for the minor misunderstandings. Many who at one time served as justice guides in the lower realms later appear as voices of mercy in the higher spheres on Salvington. In the Lucifer rebellion in Saturnia, very few of the justice guides were lost, but more than 1/4 of the other administrative seraphim and of the lower orders of seraphic ministers were misled and deluded by the sophistries of the unbridled personal liberty. Interpreter of cosmic citizenship. When ascending mortals have completed the mansion world training, the first student apprenticeship in the universe career, they are permitted to enjoy the transient satisfactions of relative maturity citizenship on the system capital. While the attainment of each ascendant goal is a fractal achievement in the larger sense, such goals are simply milestones on the long ascending path to paradise. But however relative such successes may be, no evolutionary creature is ever denied the full through transient satisfaction of goal attainment. Ever and anon, there is a pause in the paradise ascent, a short breathing spell during which universe horizons stand still, creature status is stationary, and the personality tastes the sweetness of goal fulfillment. The first of such periods is the career of a mortal ascender, occurs on the capital of the local system. During this pause, you will, as a citizen of Jerusalem, attempt to express in creature life those things which you have acquired during the 8 preceding life experiences, embracing Urantia and the 7 mansion worlds. The seraphic interpreters of cosmic citizenship guide the new citizens of the system capitals and quicken their appreciation of the responsibilities of universe government. These seraphim are also closely associated with the material suns in the universe and the system administration, while they portray the responsibility and morality of cosmic citizenship to the material mortals on the inhabited worlds. Quickeners of morality. On the mansion worlds, you will begin to learn self-government for the benefit of all concerned. Your mind learns to cooperate, learns how to plan with other and wiser beings. On the system headquarters, the Seraphic teachers will further quicken your appreciation of cosmic morality, of the interactions of liberty and loyalty. What is loyalty? It is the fruit of an intelligent application of universe brotherhood. One could not take so much and give nothing. As you ascend the personality scale, first you learn to be loyal, then to love, then to be viable, and then you may be free. But not until you are a finaliter, not until you have obtained perfection of loyalty, can you self-realize finality of liberty. These seraphim teach the fruitfulness of patience, that stagnation is certain death, but that over rapid growth is equally suicidal, that as a drop of water from a high level falls to a lower, and flowing onward passes ever downward through a succession of short falls, so ever upward is progress in the Urantia and spirit worlds, and just as slowly and by just such a gradual stages. To the inhabited worlds, the quickeners of morality portray mortal life as an unbroken chain of many links. Your short sojourn on Urantia, on this sphere of mortal infancy, is only a single link, the very first in the long chain that is no stretch across universes and through the eternal ages. It is not so much what you learn in the first life. It is the experience of living this life that is important. Even the work of this world, paramount though it is not nearly so important as the way in which you do this work. There is no material reward for righteous living, but there is profound satisfaction, consciousness of achievement, and this transcends any conceivable material reward. The keys of the kingdom of heaven are sincerity, and more sincerity. All men have these keys. Men use them, advance in spirit status, by more decisions, and by more decisions. The highest moral choice is the choice of the highest possible value, and also in any sphere of them. This is to choose to do the will of God. If man thus chooses, he will be great, though he'll be humblest citizen in Jerusalem, or even the least of mortals on Urantia. The transporters. These are the transport seraphim who function in the local system. In Saturnia, your system, they're telling you, Satan. They carry passengers back and forth from Jerusalem and otherwise serve as interplanetary transporters. Seldom a day pass in which a transport seraphim of Satania does not despot some student visitor or some other traveler of spirit or semi-spirit nature on the shores of Urantia. These very space traversers will sometime carry you to and from the various worlds of the system headquarters group, and when you have finished the Jerusalem ascent assignment, they will carry you forward to Adentnia, but under no circumstances will they carry you backward to the world of human origin. A mortal never returns to his native planet during the dispensation of his temporal existence, and if he should return during a subsequent dispensation, he would be escorted by a transport seraphim of the universe headquarters group. The recorders. These seraphim are keepers of the threefold records of the local systems. The temple of records on a system capital is unique structure. 1/3 material, constructed of luminous metals and crystals. 1/3 morantial, fabricated of the liaison of spiritual and material energy, but beyond the range of mortal vision, and 1/3 spiritual. The recorders of order preside over and maintain these threefold system of records. Ascending mortals will at first consult the material archives. Material sons and higher transition beings consult those of the Urantia halls, while seraphim and the higher spiritual personalities of the realm pursue the records of the spirit section. The reserves. The reserves corps of administrative seraphim on Jerusalem spend much of their waiting time in visiting as spirit companions, with newly arrived ascending mortals from the various worlds of the system, the accredited graduates of the mansion worlds. One of the delights of your sojourn on Jerusalem will be to talk and visit during recess periods with these much-traveled and many experienced seraphim of the waiting reserve corps. It is just such friendly relationships as these so endear a system capital to the ascending mortals. On Jerusalem, you will find the first intermingling of material sons, angels, and ascending pilgrims. Here we fraternize beings who are wholly spiritual and semi-spiritual, and individuals who are emerging from material existence. Mortal forms are there so modified in human ranges of light, reaction so extended that they are able to enjoy mutual recognition and sympathetic personality understanding. Damn. Planetary helpers. These seraphim maintain headquarters on the system capitals and through, closely associated with the resident atomic citizens, are primarily assigned to the service of the planetary atoms, the biologic or physical uplifters of the material races on the evolutionary worlds. The administrating works of angels becomes an increasing interest as it nears the inhabited worlds, as it nears the actual problems faced by men and women of time who are preparing themselves for the attempt to obtain the goal of eternity. On Urantia, the majority of planetary helpers were removed upon the collapse of the atomic regime, and the seraphic supervision of your world devolved to a greater extent upon the administrators, the transition ministers, and the guardians of destiny. But these seraphic aides of your defaulting material sons still serve Urantia in the following groups. The voices of the garden. Interesting. When the planetary course of human evolution is obtaining its highest biologic level, there always appears the material sons and daughters, the Adams and Eves, to augment the further evolution of races by an actual contribution of their superior life plasm. Interesting. The planetary headquarters of such an Adam and Eve is usually denominated the Garden of Eden, and their personal seraphim are often known as the voices of the garden. These seraphim are invaluable service to the planetary atoms in all their projects for the physical and intellectual upstepping of evolutionary races. After the atomic default on Urantia, some of these seraphim were left on the planet and were assigned to Adam's successors in authority. The spirits of brotherhood. It should be apparent that when an Adam and Eve arrive on an evolutionary world, the task of achieving racial harmony and social cooperation among its diverse races is one of the considerable proportions. Seldom do these races of different colors and varied natures take kindly to the plan of human brotherhood. These primitive men only come to realize, and through the faithful ministry of the seraphic spirits of brotherhood. Without the work of these seraphim, the efforts of the material sons to harmonize and advance the races of an evolving world would be greatly delayed. And had your Adam adhered to the original plan for the advancement of Urantia by this time, these spirits of brotherhood would have worked unbelievably transformations in the human race. In the view of the Adamic default, it is indeed remarkable that these seraphic orders have been able to foster and bring to realization even as much of a brotherhood as you now have on Urantia, the souls of peace. The early millenniums of the upward striving of evolutionary men are marked by many a struggle. Peace is not the natural state of the material realms. The world's first realized peace on earth and goodwill, angels, were largely thwarted in their early efforts on Urantia. Bivona, chief of staff of the resident governor general. And it was this same Ravona who, when Michael was born, heralded to the world as the leader of the angelic hosts. Glory to God in Harvona and on earth and goodwill among men. In the more advanced epochs of planetary evolution, these seraphim are instrumental in supplanting the atonement idea by the concept of divine attunement as a philosophy of mortal survival. The spirits of trust. Suspicion is the inherent recreation of primitive men. The survival struggles of early ages do not naturally breed trust. Trust is a new human acquisition brought about by the ministry of these planetary seraphim of the Adamic regime. It is their mission to inculcate trust into the minds of evolving men. The gods are very trustful. The universal Father is willingly free to trust himself. The adjuster demands associate. This entire group of seraphim was transformed to the new regime after the Adamic miscarriage, and they have ever since continued their labors on Urantia, and they have not been wholly unsuccessful since the civilization is now evolving, which embodies much of their ideals and confidence and trust. In the more advanced planetary ages, these seraphim enhance men's appreciation of truth, that uncertainty is secret of content continuity. They help the moral philosophers to realize that the ignorance is essential to success. It would be a colossal blunder for the creature to know the future. They heighten man's taste for the sweetness of uncertainty, for the romance and charm of the indefinite and unknown future. The transporters, the planetary transporters, serve the individual worlds. The majority of in-seraphimed beings brought to this planet are in transit. They merely stop over. They are the custody of their own special seraphic transporters, but there are a large number of such seraphim stationed on Urantia. These are the transport personalities operating from the local planets as the Urantia to Jerusalem. Your conventional idea of angels had been derived in the following way. During moments just prior to physical death, a reflective phenomenon sometimes occurs in the human mind, and this dimming consciousness seems to vitalize and visualize something of the form of a tending angel, and this immediately translates into the terms of habitual concept of angels being in the individual's mind. The erroneous idea that angels possess wings is not wholly due to an olden notion that they must have wings to fly through the air. Human beings have sometimes been permitted to observe seraphim, that they were prepared to transport service and traditions of these experiences have largely determined the Urantian concept of angels. In observing transport seraphim being made ready to receive a passenger for interplanetary transit, there may be seen what apparently double sets of wings extending from the head to foot of the angel. In reality, these wings are energy insulators, friction shields. When celestial beings are to be seraphimed for transfer from one world to another, they are brought to the headquarters of the sphere and, after due registry, are inducted into the transit sleep. Meanwhile, the transport seraphim moves into a horizontal position immediately above the universe energy pole of the planet. While the energy shields are wide open, the sleeping personality is skillfully deposited by the oscillating seraphic assistants directly on top of the transport angel. Then both the upper and lower pairs of shields are carefully closed and adjusted. And now, under the influence of the transformers and transmitters, a strange metamorphosis begins as the seraphim is made ready to swing into the energy currents of the universe circuits. To outward appearance, the seraphim grows pointed at both extremes and extremities, and both becomes so enshrouded in queer light of amber hue that very soon it is impossible to distinguish the seraphimed personality. When all in readiness for departure, the chief of transport makes the proper inspection of the carriage of life, carries out the routines, tests to ascertain whether or not the angel is properly encircuited, and then announces that the traveler is properly seraphimed, that the energy are adjusted, that the angel is insulated, and that everything is in readiness for the departing flesh. The mechanical controllers, 2 of them, next take their positions. By this time, the transport seraphim has become almost transparent, vibrating, torpedoed shaped outline of glistening luminosity. Now the transport dispatcher of the realm summons the auxiliary batteries of the living energy transmitters, usually 1,000 in number, as he announces the destination of the transport. He reaches out and touches the inner point of the seraphic cage. When shoots forward with lightning-like speed, leaving a trail of celestial luminosity as far as the planetary atmosphere investment extends. In less than 10 minutes, the miraculous and marvelous spectacle will be lost even to the enforced seraphic vision. While planetary space reports are received at noon at the meridian of the designated spiritual headquarters, the transporters are dispatched from the same place at midnight. That is the most favorable time for departure and is standard hour and not otherwise specified. The recorders. These are the custodians of the major affairs of the planet, as it is functions as a part of a system, and as it is related to and concerned in the universe government. They function as the recording planetary affairs, but are not concerned with the matters of the individual life and existence. The reserves. The Satania Reserve Corps of the Planetary Seraphim is maintained on Jerusalem in close association with the reserves of the material suns. These abundant reserves repeatedly prove every phase of the manifold activities of the seraphic order. These angels are also the personal message bearers of a local system. They reserve transition, mortal angels, and material suns, as well as others domiciled on the system headquarters. While Urantia is a present outside the spiritual circuits of Satania and Allykatzkreations, you are otherwise in intimate touch with interplanetary affairs, for these messages from Jerusalem frequently come to this world as to all other spheres of the system. I gotta fix my teeth. Transition ministers. As their name might suggest, seraphim of transitional ministry serve wherever they can, contribute to creature transition from the material to the spiritual estate. These angels serve from the inhabited worlds to the system capitals, but those in Satania at present direct their greatest efforts toward the education of surviving mortals on the 7 mansion worlds. This ministry is diversified in accordance with the following 7 orders of assignment: Seraphic evangels, racial interpreters, mind planners, Urantia counselors, technicians, recorder teachers, ministering reserves. More about these seraphic ministers to transitional ascenders you will learn in connection with the narratives dealing with the mansion worlds and the Urantia life. Seraphim of the future. These angels do not minister extensively except in older realms on the more advanced planets of Nebadon. Large numbers of them are held in reserve on the seraphic worlds near Salvington, where they are engaged in pursuits relevant to the sometime dawning of the age of light and life in Nebadon. These seraphim do function in connection with the ascendant mortal career, but minister almost exclusively to those mortals who survive by some one of the modified orders of ascension. Inasmuch as these angels are not now directly concerned with either Urantia or Urantians, it is deemed best to withhold the description of their fascinating activities. Seraphic destiny. Seraphim of origin in the local universes and in these very realms of their nativity, some achieve service destiny. With the help and counsel of the senior archangels, some seraphim may be elevated to the exalted duties of brilliant evening stars, while others obtain the status and service of the unrevealed coordinates of the evening stars. Still other adventurers in local universe destiny may be attempted, but Seraphington, ever remaining the eternal goal of all angels, Seraphington is the angelic threshold to paradise and deity attainment. The transition sphere from the ministry of time to the exalted service of eternity. Seraphim may obtain paradise in scores, hundreds of ways, but the most important, as elaborate in the narratives, are the following. To gain admission to the paradise seraphic abode in a personal capacity by achieving perfection of specialized service as a celestial artisan, a technical advisor, or celestial recorder, to become a paradise companion and having thus obtained the center of all things, perhaps then to become an eternal minister and advisor to the seraphic order and others. To be summoned to Seraphiton, under certain conditions, seraphim are commanded on high. In other circumstances, angels sometimes achieve paradise in a much shorter time than mortals. But no matter how fitted any seraphic pair may be, they cannot initiate departure for Seraphiton or elsewhere. None but successful destiny guardians can be sure of proceeding to paradise by a progressive path of evolutionary ascent. All others must patiently await to the arrival of paradise messengers, of the tertiary supernephim, who come with a summons commanding them to appear on high. To obtain paradise by the evolutionary mortal technique, the supreme choice of seraphim in the career of time is the post of guardian angel, in order that they may obtain the career of finality and be qualified for assignment to the eternal spheres of seraphic service. Such personal guides of the children of time are called guardians of destiny, signifying that they guard mortal creatures in the path of divine destiny, and that in doing so, they are determining their own high destiny. Guardians of destiny are drawn from the ranks of the more experienced angelic personalities of all orders of seraphim who have qualified for the service. All surviving mortals of a just or fusion destiny have temporary guardians assigned, and these associates may become permanently attached when immortal survivors obtained the requisite intellectual and spiritual development. Before mortal ascenders leave the mansion worlds, they all have permanent Sepharic associates. This group of administering spirits is discussed in the connection with the Urantia narratives. It is not possible for angels to obtain God from the human level of origin, for they are created a little higher than you. But it has been wisely arranged that while they cannot possibly start up from the very bottom, the spiritual lowlands of mortal existence, they may go down to those who do start from the bottom and pilot such creatures step by step, world by world, to the portals of Havona. When mortal ascenders leave Yaversa to begin the circles of Havona, those guardians of attachment subsequent to the life in the flesh will build their pilgrim associates a temporary farewell while they journey to Seraphiton, the angelic destination of a grand universe. Here will these guardians attempt and undoubtedly achieve the 7 circles of Sepharic light. Many, but not all, of these seraphim assigned to destiny guardians during the material life accompany their mortal associates through the Havona circles, and certain other seraphim passes through the circuits of their central universe in a way that is wholly different from the mortal ascent. But irrespective of the route of ascent, all evolutionary seraphim traverse Seraphiton, and the majority pass through the experience instead of the Havona circuits. Seraphiton is the destiny sphere for angels, and their attainment of this world is quite different from the experiences of mortal pilgrims on Ascendington. Angels are not absolutely sure of their eternal future until they have obtained Seraphiton. No angel obtaining Seraphiton has ever known to go astray. Sin will never find response to the heart of a seraphim of completion. The graduates of Seraphiton are various assigned. Destiny guardians of Havona circle experience, usually ever the mortal finality corpse. Other guardians, having passed their Havona separation tests, frequently join their mortal associates on paradise, and some become the everlasting associates of the mortal finaliters, while others enter various non-mortal finality corpse, and many are mustered into the corpse of the seraphic completion. The corpse of the seraphic completion. After obtainment of the Father of Spirits and admissions to the seraphic service, of completion, angels are sometimes assigned to the ministry of the world settled in life and light. They gain attachment to high trinitized beings of the universes and to the exalted services of paradise and Nirvana. These seraphim of the local universes have experimentally compensated the differential in divinity, potential, and formally setting them apart from the ministering spirits of the central and super universes. Angels of the Seraphic Corps of Completion serve as associates of the super universe Secundaphim and as assistants to the high paradise Nirvana orders of Supernaphim. For such angels, the career of time is finished. Henceforth and forever, they are servants of God, the consorts of divine personalities, and the peers of the paradise finalators. Large numbers of completion, seraphim, return to their native universes. There is a complement to the ministry of divine endowment by the ministry of experimental perfection. Nebadon is, comparatively speaking, one of the younger preferential perfection. Nebadon is, comparatively speaking, one of the younger universes and therefore does not have so many of the returned Seraphington graduates as would be found in older realm. Nonetheless, the local universe is adequately supplied with the completion seraphim, for it's significant that the evolutionary realms disclose increasing need for their services as they near the status of light and life. Completion seraphim now serve more extensively with the supreme orders of seraphim, but some serve with each of the other angelic orders. Even your world enjoys the extensive ministry of 12 specialized groups of the Seraphic Corps of Completion. These master seraphim of planetary supervision accompany each newly commissioned planetary prince to the inhabited worlds. Many fascinating avenues of ministry are open to the completion seraphim, but just as they all crave assignment as destiny guardians in the pre-paradise days, so in the post-paradise experience they most desire to serve as bestowal attendants in the incarnated paradise sons. They are still supremely devoted to the universal plan of starting the mortal creatures of evolutionary worlds out upon the long, enticing journey toward the paradise goal of divinity and eternity. Throughout the whole mortal adventure of finding God and the achieving divine perfection, these spirit ministers of seraphic completion, together with the faithful ministering spirits of time, are always forever with your true friends and unfailing helpers. Presented by a Melchizedek, acting by request of the chief of the Seraphic Hosts of Nebadon. Sending each and every one of you love and light. I know that was very long, but very informative and very interesting, because a lot of us are now finding our past life of our angelic self, and a lot of this starts making a lot of sense. So I hope you enjoyed paper 39, and I hope all of you have a wonderful end of the weekend, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.